We need it. Oxygen. It's why we breathe.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Small Business Success Stories and Small Biz Buffet as we have it on YouTube. We've got Marc Mathys in the house with us today and another, not only fellow Canuck, he is living in Montreal, but he has a really interesting new platform and technology to help people get rid of all of this crap in our heads that's holding us back. And so he's the CEO of an innovative Neuro quantum program called Reset It. And I'm going to let Marc tell you about it because there's a lot of heavy science and a lot of interesting opportunities here to talk about. Marc, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's beautiful to be here with you today.
Well, I didn't want to slaughter what you do because, like you said, there's neuroquantum, so quantum physics and mechanics that are part of this. There's neurology, neuroscience, and of course, there's whole like mindset and belief and all these pieces put in. How would you, in your words, describe what Reset It does?
Basically, what we do is we teach people how to reset what really doesn't belong to you. What I mean by what doesn't really belong to you is that, we're all programmed in a certain way. It's based on three things that stop you to do what you need to do. The first one is the thing that doesn't belong to you is your programming. The way that we are wired, the way that we receive our stuff from our parents, our society. The second one is our conditioning. We're all conditioned in a certain way to do certain things. And the third one is the beliefs that we start believing in those two things. And these things has really nothing to do with us.
And so, what you're working on in a business, and you've shared that you've been at it for a while, because contrary to what popular belief is out there, people are not overnight successes, right? It takes a little bit of time, especially in the case of like what you're doing with Reset It. You are leading the charge in technology evangelism, right? A whole new way of doing things. And it takes time for people to understand, to accept, to see the proven nature of it. Talk to us a little bit about what that's been like, having that long-term vision and having to execute year after year to get to where you are today. Can you share
Yeah,
some of
sure.
that?
In making of the Reset It program, what we call the neuro quantum experience, because it's an experience that you have to live through. It took me 15 years to get here. Now, during those 15 years, there's things that we tried, there's things that we did, and we changed things around. And I started doing this. I was doing this mostly on my own. And I was teaching here in Montreal. I had my office here in Montreal, and by myself I was doing fine. It was just beautiful. It's slowly growing, but it took me 15 years to get the wording right. What we're really working on is the things that don't belong to us. So for people to understand that, and still today, there's a lot of people that don't understand this. So is that it's to get that message out there that you have something inside of you that has really nothing to do with you. So for us, it's to grow in such a way that it's a slow process. We've changed things, we move in, and about 3 years now, a lady came into my one of my sessions that I did, and she goes, "Wow, this is really interesting." She just went bonkers with it. She goes, "Okay, Mark, I want to learn this too. I want to teach this to other people. I want to teach this too." And I told her at the beginning, I said, well, not right now. I just want to take my time. And says, "No, you're not. You're going to teach me now."
Wow.
She put it out there for me. But by living the experience that we live in, the way that we do our stuff, it just came in and I had to listen to it. So over that weekend, I just started thinking about, okay, how do I want to teach this? I wrote it down. 20 minutes later, everything was done. The pricing was done, the way that I wanted to teach it, how I wanted to teach it, and how I wanted to put this through. It was done in 20 minutes. When you're ready in that space in your mind that's really clear, then that's where everything follows through. So I called Lynn up. Her name is Lynn, and I call her up the following week. I says, Lynn, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And she goes, okay, when can I start? So from that moment, where I'm learning as well to teach to other people. So what happens is now people started saying, "Oh, I want to do what you're doing, Mark, too." So now we're 13, 11 on board with us that are certified, and we've got another four that's coming up, and we're reaching out to a lot of other people because, like we were talking before, once this, once people really understand what we do, it's just mind-boggling for them, and it's a way of thinking that you've always thought this way, but you're programmed and conditioning not to. And all we're doing is teaching a simple method that, it only takes 2 sessions because, again, we're not coaches, we're not therapists. We teach you the methodology of the neuroquantum experience. You got to live that experience. And once you live that experience, then that experience belongs to you.
So there are, I don't know, I lost count, a dozen things I want to unpack. So let's go through them as I remember them one by one. So the first is, as a small business owner, because we keep bringing it back, that's our audience,
Yes.
you need to see things through fresh eyes. So you saw things through Lynn's eyes. She said, Mark, why aren't you teaching this to other people? So would you agree that's one of the things that really was a game changer in the arc of your business?
That was it. That was the biggest, the work that we do is to live the moment. Really, that's what we're living in. So what we call the state of presence, the absence of our programs and conditioning. So when Lynn was talking about her saying, I want to do this, well, all I had to do was listen, be present with her, and live that experience with her. And that's what I received from her. So as an entrepreneur, if you're not present in the action you're doing, you're in the noise, you're in your head. You're going to always analyze it. You're always going to think about it. But what happens when we think about it based on the information that in our programs and conditioning, which has nothing to do with us? See, if I was in my programs and conditioning to Lynn and I would go, no, 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 I just want to do this, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't ready to receive it. I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be having new members on my team. I forget it. So it's really about listening to the market. Because what happens with a lot of CEOs and a lot of entrepreneurs is that they're not listening. They're hearing it, but they're not listening to it.
And I want to dig into that because that's one of the, I guess, like the dozen things. And I'm just going to come back. I want to hit on a few of them because also it resonates on a personal level and what my journey's been. What you're talking about right there and listening versus hearing, right? When you've got people or things around you that are distracting you, taking you away from what you need to do, you lack that clarity, that privilege of focus is what I call it. And you can't get there. You can't get to a place and think, if I had to articulate the value proposition or if I had to do this, what would it really be? Because you've got so much noise and mumbo jumbo in your head from your team, this, that. So talk to us about how to be able to clear that and what the importance is of clearing it so that you can have really a fresh look and be wholly present to absorb what is coming to you.
Well, the thing with the way that we teach our program is to teach you to get you into that space. So once you're in that space, that's why we teach it, is that to get you in that space. Because if you're not in that space, you're going to listen to the noise. You're going to listen to everybody around you. And whatever the results of everybody telling you what you should be doing,
Mhm.
95% of business is closed because of those three things: your programming, your conditioning, and your beliefs around things of other people. Because the programs and conditioning has nothing to do with you as a human being. It's been programmed inside of you. So you think that this is what you have to do. But in reality, once you're free of all that noise, once you're free of that space and you're just doing what you need to do, that's what's resonating with people. And that's where you will attract things into your business. You'll attract the people that you need to be attracted. I attracted Lynn into my business. I didn't sell it to Lynn. I wasn't there. Hey, Lynn, you got to buy my program. You got to buy my program. all I was doing, the only thing that I was doing in that, the first meeting I had within, I was being me. And she saw something inside of me and she felt it and she says, this is what I want. So this is what we create is that when we're teaching this to entrepreneurs is that they're not selling their program anymore, or not selling their product anymore, because what they're doing is being present in the action they're doing. So they're receiving what they need to receive. Because that's the quantum energy field that you're putting out there, and this is what you're going to receive. The same thing happens is that when when you're blocked in your mind, the block is telling in the quantum energy field, this is please don't buy from me.
So, said in simpler terms, is it really the law of attraction and vibrational energy where we talk about that what we're giving off is then ultimately what we're going to receive, be it a nay or a yay?
Well, the thing is that when we put the law of attraction to it, you're attracting things based on your programs and conditioning. You're doing that, of course. But when you're living in the state of presence, you're not attracting anymore. You're receiving. Completely different way of looking at it.
I like that. And I am open to receiving. That's why I love doing these podcasts. I learn so much from each of our guests. It's incredible. Now, one more thing I want to go in that like list of a dozen things I wanted to unpack because I don't know, forgotten the other four or five, but one more, the importance of pivoting. So it's not only we've heard you say responding to the market, being fully present and really not just hearing, but listening to what it's telling us, but also the art of the pivot, making changes to bend and go with those ebbs and tides. Talk to us about maybe how many times you've pivoted or how you get the signals to pivot. Talk to us about that experience.
I think about pivoting is that all we're doing, we're not pivoting anymore. And that's the beautiful part. We're not pivoting because we're not measuring what we're doing now versus what we did before. That's pivoting. We understand that and we want to pivot to somewhere else. So we're using that pivot. So every time we pivot, we bring our programs and conditioning with the pivoting.
Mm.
When you're making choices in this moment based on one thing only, you're not pivoting anymore. You're just making those choices. And when you're making those choices from who you are in that core of really resonating with yourself, that is where people are going to come in. It's not pivoting anymore. It's about living the experience, what you have to live through, whatever that's going to come up for you.
And that's a really interesting twist on all of it, where I say, like, oh, I've pivoted myself, and reinvented myself more times than Madonna, right? I mean, that's
Right.
like one of the little buzz lines that I use. But thinking about it in this way, again, is part of the value of these podcasts and talking to experts like yourself from different fields to hear things from a different lane, a different lens, and then figure out how that maps onto my head and what it changes. Right. Already, just this aspect of not pivoting, because then we're really sort of kind of doing a slightly different variation of what we've been conditioned to do or think to do
Mhm.
versus this is what we've received and now we need to apply. Very different.
Exactly, because when you're living that experience, whatever that experience is, like I'll go back to the experience that I lived with, what I lived with Lynn, is that I lived the experience, and my first reaction was, "Oh no, I don't want to do this," based on something that maybe came from my programs and conditioning in that moment, that fraction of a moment. And then when I just came back to that state of who I am, it says, "Okay, let me take a look at it." Let me sit down with myself and take a look at the numbers, take a look at, and when you're in that space where you are so well with yourself, you will always do what you need to do in the moment you need to do it. It's really fascinating as a CEO, a president of a company, or an entrepreneur doing it from this level. And this is what we teach in for CEO suites is we teach this so that they are in that space where they're listening to one thing. They're getting the information, but they're listening to what they feel, how they are in that moment doing it. So that's where really about that state of who you are, that what we call the state of presence. When you're doing things from the state of presence, the absence of our programs and conditioning, everything aligns for you. Everything's already there for you because you're not now you're seeing it, but when you're in your programs and conditioning, you don't see it. That's all it is.
Do you think it's more difficult to attain that state of presence today versus even a few years ago, given the ripple effect of the pandemic, the geopolitical climate, all kinds of things going on in the world, the noise, the level of social media, fake news, all of this? Is it harder or does it just seem that way? Because again, as part of our conditioning, we're receiving all these messages that tell us it's harder.
See, you're receiving 50,000 images all the time. So how the brain is overloaded with all these images. It's overloaded with all the stuff that, all the garbage that's out there, all the noise, and all these stuff that we're hearing and we're just being part of it. And what they're doing on, let's say on the media side, is that they're transferring their programs and conditioning onto us so that we have a reaction to. And once we have a reaction to, we become them. They're controlling us now. So now we're making decisions based on other people's information on social media. The same thing. We always see things on social media, and you take a look at that's the conditioning response of something that has nothing to do with us.
So is one possible solution, obviously again, we're not sales pitching, to the audience here and saying, other than doing your program, for example, is one of the solutions tuning out from social media and filtering out some of these noises and things coming at us to help us focus as entrepreneurs?
See, what happens is that in the mind, the way that the mind works, if we're trying to focus things out of it, we're still in it. Because we're using that same thought process to try to get us out of there. So everything that the duality is always going to be there. You're trying to do something, but it's always attached. You got this little string, the negative around it, the positive around it. Whatever you're putting out there, you have this line that's always there, and it's always going to be attached to a program, a condition, or belief somewhere. See, there's a lot of things out there that what I want to tell you about is that our program works in a certain way, which is for us, it works beautiful. Okay. But there's other things that other people do to get you. What you have to really understand is that when you go through a program, it's to get you outside of your program's conditionings and beliefs. How that's done, there's a thousand and different ways to do it. Whatever fits with you. Some people do meditations, which it works in certain ways, but for me, we're still meditating based on the thought process that we're using that brought us into that space. See, Einstein used to call we're using the same thought process to try to change things in our lives, but we're still using the same thought process to try to change it. And his definition, that was insanity.
And so, how can we reset in a way that we're decoupling ourselves from all of these historical sort of conditioning that even has us apply selective filters, right?
Mhm.
How do we decouple from all of that, yet still retain the knowledge that we need to be able to move forward?
Knowledge is different. If you got knowledge about something that you did your due diligence, you did your research on it, you made sure that wherever that information is coming from, it's not tainted from this or that. When you go down deep, if you want to get that information, there's beautiful things that we can do to get that information. When I was doing my research, when I was doing my research, and I never took anything on face value, nothing. All I did was make sure that, okay, this is what they're telling me. This is the way that it works in the neuroscience field. Okay, where did I can validate this information? Okay, I'll get three different sources. So I'll get the information, say, okay, this feels right. And when it's coming in from when you're receiving what you need, as I tell a lot of my members, when you receive what you need to receive in the moment you need to receive it, that becomes yours. So it's really to break down the noise and make sure that whatever you're going to learn, whatever you're going to do, and this is what I teach my kid. I have young adults that are coming through my program, is that whatever the teacher is telling you in front, never take them on face value. They are there to confirm what you already know. That's all they're there for. So you do your work that you need to do in that space that you're there. So do your due diligence, make sure that you understand it. You got the information. We've got 1,000 and different ways to get information out.
Oh yeah, at least.
At least, you want to do something and you want to write, this right now, what we're in, we've got all the information to do anything that we want to do in our lives. There's so much money you can make. There's so much career. You can have a beautiful career. You can do everything. You've got all that information. I'll give you an example. I had at my place there was the water heater broke. Now, I'm not mechanically inclined to do it. All I did was on the internet, how to change a water heater.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanics. It's plus one, blah, blah, blah. You can't do any, as long as you follow these instructions and you know what, and you do your testing and everything else. So I became a plumber. For that moment, I became a plumber
For that day,
for
right?
that day. And did it work perfectly at the first time? No, it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing it, you're learning at the same time, you're living that experience and doing it. And once that experience is there, that's yours for life. Because that's going to build building blocks on doing your other things that you need to do.
I want to go back to a statement you just made about you're taking a lot of young adults through your program. It's a question I like to ask entrepreneurs. What do you think is missing in the business curriculum today? Kids are going at whatever level, associate's degree, full degree, MBA. What do you think's missing from the business curriculum?
The biggest factor that they're missing, they don't know who they are. Simple as that. They're trying to find something like if I have people on my team that's an MBA. I have people that are on my team that worked on themselves for many years, and the young people that come into my program, and that's the biggest thing, that they don't know who they are. So when you don't know who you are, how can we do what we need to do with you if you don't know who you are?
Is it because they're chasing fame or they're chasing money or they're
They're
chasing what they think they
conditioned.
should be chasing? Again, I was going to say
They're
because of this
conditioned.
conditioning, social media,
They're
whatever.
conditioned
Hey,
that
girls in
way.
Lambos and,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that
So
culture.
what happens in a lot of cases, in what we're seeing in our research, that they're looking for something that is missing inside of them. They're looking for that fame because there's something missing inside of them. They're looking for that next relationship because there's something inside of them that they don't have. When we're doing programs with people that have addiction,
Mm.
well, the addictions is that they're looking for something they don't have. They're using it. They're using the things that they're addicted to get to in that space. So they're always looking for the best next thing. But when you are so well with yourself, you can do anything in this world. There's nothing stopping you.
Oh, and so if you could go back in time, so say we gave you some magical technological bottle with a message in the bottle, right? And we could go back to young Marc Mathys. What's that message that you would give to your younger self?
What I would say is stop listening to the noise. That's it. I'll
Hmm.
give you an example of this. When I was 13 years old, we had these career day. I had a career day at the high school where I was, and you make choices. I wanted to be like my grandfather. My grandfather was a plumber. He's manual, and I look at this stuff, and I said, look, maybe electrician. I would like to go into that section. So I come back home that night with the idea of to be an electrician, go to school, trade school, and everything else, and I talked to my father, and I said, Dad, what do you think about being an electrician? And he goes, well, you're not good enough in math to do that. Now, he continued explaining what he meant by it. But the thing, when I was 13 years old, the only thing I heard from my father that I wasn't good enough.
Right.
So that's the conditioning that started. That's the program that came in, and everything from that moment until I received my reset, I was not good enough. Whatever I was doing, I was never good enough. So that's the conditioning. Now, let's say that I didn't receive that. I was in my space right where I am today at 13 years old. I go to them, go fly a kite, just do what you need to do, man, because that's what I want to do.
Right. It's And I think this will resonate with a lot of our viewers here and listeners because so many people and entrepreneurs talk about imposter syndrome. We talk
Hmm.
about why we're not good enough. The competitors are always better. Always seem to have more money, better marketing, better social media memes, more virality to them, more followers, more, right? And we're somehow less than because we've been conditioned in this way. I know I have even from my parents and how they conditioned me to believe I am less than, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing that stays with you and you really have to work to fight against it.
Yeah, and then you have to you don't have it inside of you, so you're listening to all these gurus telling you, oh, this is what you have to do on social media. This is what you have to do on your marketing team. This is what you have to do, and it just nourishing the things that has nothing to do with you.
Right. And that's
Marketing starts with you. If you're not who you are, you can't market anything. You can spend millions of dollars at trying to market it, but then at the end of the day, if they're dealing with you and you're not well with yourself, it'll work for a short term, but it's always going to come and bite you in the ass.
exactly because we're a reflection, right, of what it is. And people are either going to buy into it because they believe in us. And
Hmm.
then that's why you look on the flip side, people that are exemplary at selling, at vision. You think of Adam Newman, WeWork, and some of these other leaders that were just visionary in their time, but they had the ability and the charisma to convince others, right? Even a couple of people who are incarcerated, Elizabeth Holmes, right, of Theranos. And oh my goodness, I can't remember, blanking on her name. She was just charged the CEO of Frank, helping students get loans and things because she said that she had hundreds of millions of followers that were had signed up for her program, but she did not. And JP Morgan did not take kindly to that after they invested
Hmm.
175 million.
Yeah, a lot of
Right.
song and dances.
Right. And you can't do smoke and mirrors. People see through it.
No,
I mean, really, that's the net in what you're saying, right?
exactly, because as an entrepreneur, and this is one of the programs we put in place because when you're working in a corporation and you're hired to do the job that to be a CEO or whatever job that you're in, what you're bringing into the job is your baggage, your beliefs, your programming, your conditioning. So now the company becomes the melting pot of all these programs, conditionings, and beliefs. So if you got 10 CEOs, you got 10 on the C-suite, you got 10 people, you got 10 different programs that are running. Then they say, oh, well, hey, we have to create this culture so that everybody will be part of it and they'll adhere to us and all this other stuff. Yeah, but you know what culture is? It's just another cult. That's all it is.
It's in the
So
word.
it's in the word. But when the people are there, if you're in a situation and you resonate an energy of who you are, that resonates with other people. So if you have your whole team in this space of who you are, who they are, man, company runs really nice.
And
They
on the
make
flip
more money.
side,
They
if you
make
do
more
not,
money. Pardon me?
I said, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but on the flip side, if you do not have everybody running all like tickety boo and in line with who they are and reflecting that outwards, then you go the other way with company
Exactly.
revenues and things.
An example of this is that if you have a receptionist that's not in that space, when she answers the phone, what she's sending in the quantum energy field is saying, please don't buy it from us, go away. But if you change that with that same relation, that uh, person that's answering the phone, and she's in that state of who she is, and she just resonates, and she's talking, and she's there, that is where people are going to come back and buy. Because it all starts with people.
Yes, and I think some level of mindfulness, right? So those that don't really care about their jobs and are just there to collect the paycheck, not to work, right, and not to really represent the company, ultimately do a disservice to themselves and to the organization.
Yes, exactly. And the thing with mindfulness is that, see, if you take a look at the mind, you're full of your programs and conditioning. That's what mindfulness is. That's all it is. You're mindful. You're aware of what's going on. Yes, you're mindful about it, but you can't change it because you can't move on if you haven't done the work, not the work, but resetting what really doesn't belong to you in that mindfulness. See, when you're living in that state of presence, the present moment right now, there is no mindfulness. You're just there. Nothing else. You're just there and you're receiving what that's exactly what we're doing today. You're just there with me. There's nothing else going on. We're just doing what we need to do in the moment we need to do it. Now imagine living your life this way.
I can't. I feel like I'm bombarded like everybody else, right? It's this, it's that. It's like a squirrel, right?
Yeah. Then when you meet a new client, well, what you're saying to your client is, please don't buy from me because I'm not present. I hear them, but I'm not listening to them because I'm in my head, trying to answer the questions or I'm already ahead, trying to figure out what you're going to say and how I'm going to respond to it. So you're using that program, trying to respond to something that you're not listening to. You're hearing it, but you're not listening to it.
It's so spot on. I think every entrepreneur can relate to that because you're going into it thinking, "Ah, there's 1,000 reasons, right? You're already trying to think, what are the objections going to be? How am I going to counter their objections? I'm going to,
Yeah.
right? You're going in and just people get
I
that.
did
They
I did
catch
this
it.
for I did this in sales, the I did it in sales every time I go into, we're trained to, okay, they say this, we've got to come up with this, we got to come up with that, we got to promote this, we got to promote that. And all we're doing is transferring the programs and conditioning onto them. And you don't build relationships. You're just another salesperson that comes in trying to sell it to them. But when you are in the state of presence, you're not selling anymore. You're being present with the person in front of you. You're listening. They're busy. Listen. Go away. It's not the time. When they appreciate that you're not wasting their time because now you're seeing it, you're being
Mhm.
part of it. They will remember. They'll call back. They'll do their stuff. I remember one boss that was telling me, "Well, Mark, you got to do, I was developing a new territory. Oh, you got to do, your calls. You got to make sure you got all the appointments. You got to do this. Don't waste your time because time is money. All these conditioning." And I go, "No, I'm going into a new territory. They don't know us. I'm just going to say hi. I'm just going to knock on the doors, see who's there, have a conversation around it, make some new friends, do what I need to do, and that's it. That's all I want to do." I said, "Oh, you're going to waste your time." I said, "Let me do my stuff." Okay. So I was calling on a big corporation. I don't know these guys. I'm just not gonna, I just wanted to meet who's there. I don't know who's there. So I call in and I go in and the reception is there. Now the first thing is she's the gateway.
Of course.
She's stopping things. So I'm just having a conversation with her. And she's busy, so I just move aside. And then when she's free, "Oh, what can I help you with?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking for the person in charge of this, this, this." "Oh, the person is not in right now. Can I give him the card?" Or I says, "Well, yeah, if that's okay with you, can you give him my card and my samples and whatever?" And says, "Yeah, yeah." And she's calling me Mark now because then we have that conversation. So the guy, the receptionist gave the information to the person. The person called me back the next day or the day after. It says, "Hey, Mark," he's calling me Mark now because Jennifer, the receptionist, says, "Hey, you got to call Mark. He's got some. Yeah, you're doing. I know that you're looking for some. Take a look. Call Mark. He's gonna help you out with it." So he asked me. He goes, "Mark," I says, I have a job for you." I says, "Can you quote on it?" I says, "Sure, I can quote it. That's what I'm there for." So we're having this conversation around it. So I got the quote back. I got it. I sent it to my office. Got the quote. Sent it back. Perfect, Mark. I says, "I'll send you the PO." The PO was $50,000.
Nice.
So you never know where it's going to come from. Then I call my boss. I says, hey, remember you told me that I had to do all this and this and that? Look, the first order,
Here's the
$50,000.
PO. Yeah.
So the thing is that when you're doing this, and this happens to when you don't have this stuck in your mind that you have to follow these rules. You're just having a conversation with the people that you are with. You're living with the human being of other person. Now, the other one might be busy and doing your stuff, but you have to listen to them. You have to be part of it. And the kicker on this one, he finished that year. He finished at $1.5 million worth of sales that year. So you never know where it's going to come from. Never.
But isn't that what you're talking about too? The essence of relationship sales, right?
Mhm.
Relationship selling.
But the relationships got to start with you being well with yourself. The first
Mhm.
relationship you have to build, not with others, with yourself. If you're
See,
not well
that's
with yourself, forget it.
right. That's the difference, and that's really the spin. I think that's what I'm sure a lot of our listeners have taken away. So, as we're getting close to the end of our show here, what would you like to share with our listeners?
The thing that I would like to share is that you have everything that you need is already inside of you. Just listen to it. Simple as that.
Beautiful. And before we get to where people can find you, I have to ask my signature question. I ask all of my guests over the years, I've asked hundreds of entrepreneurs and investors. If we peeked into your closet, Mark, right, and we looked in, is there a pair of shoes, boots, some kind of footwear that personifies and embodies your personality and who you are? Just describe what we're looking at and why they're you.
Okay. The thing that the thing that describes me, I have these shoes that are called five fingers.
Oh,
Is
I
it
know them.
so
Yep.
is an individual in my toes is individual, and I love wearing them because it's comfortable, it feels good in my body, and I love the reaction of people. They see it. They look at me. I see them walking on the street. If I'm going to a shopping center, they see that. I love the little kids looking at it. They're talking about this. What's all this? So it's to create that reaction. Yes, definitely. It's my five finger shoes because I have them for summer. I have them for fall, winter, and for water as well. So
So there you
and
go.
they're
I've never had anybody answer that. So, like, again, another reason why I just love bringing different guests on the show because you always learn something insight into who they are. So, as we wrap, can you tell folks where they can find you?
the best way to reach out from our members of our team is on our website, which is www.reset-it.ca. That's the best way to get in touch with us.
Okay, perfect. You folks heard it there. Reset it in Canada. So .ca, not .com, right? The world is not only in the United States. The world is happening in a lot of
All
other
over the
countries
place.
around
Yeah,
us, right? Says the fellow Canuck here. So with that, Mark, thank you very much for being on our show. We wish you continued success and really appreciate how you've shared with us today how we just need to clear all of that programming in our heads and being able to approach everything with clarity and with just openness, right, to receive. So we listen, not hear.
exactly.
Thank
Beautiful.
you, Mark.
Thank you for putting this together. It was a beautiful conversation.
It was wonderful. Thank you, and thank you to our
Thank
listeners.
you. Thank you.
And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?